All right, I want to talk about this real quick where Meek went and quote tweeted Arsenal about, I wonder how Meek feels about Drake suing. Meek doesn't answer that. He just says how the label was against him, didn't want him to drop any album, so he dropped Dream Chasers 4, the mixtape. Sherry Bryant helped back him and get it off the ground and all that stuff. Did 90,000 the first week to heat up. That's great. That's cool. I really love that mixtape. That's something I play whenever I want to hear some Meek Mill. That's one of the projects I go to. He also mentions how they were losing confidence in him, and they had like a whole campaign against Meek on the internet. It was a very interesting time for Meek, and we didn't know what he would do. I still remember. I think the diss he had against Drake was like the Undertaker beat or something like that, and it was just trash. After waiting so long for Meek to respond, I'm like, what are we doing? And I thought this was interesting because I then saw Rapology post on Facebook about how the Dat Piff CEO was saying how Meek was scared to death to drop an album after the whole Drake beef there. He goes on to say how Meek was very scared at first to drop anything. He wanted to do a 4-song EP, but Meek was very iffy. So I love how Meek wants to come out and be like, they were trying to, pin me against the corner and the label didn't want me to release things and this and that, which could very much be true. As he learned with 50, where Interscope ran two campaigns where they were pushing 50 and G Unit, but also were funding Game with GU Not. Very interesting how labels played both sides. So I can understand this. But the fact that Meek is like, they didn't want to support me. But then you have the CEO of Dat Piff saying Meek didn't really want to drop anything because at the time, Drake was a giant. Drake was killing things. Drake had a great run, and pretty much had a great run up until last year when Kendrick came and stomped on it. So I just find this interesting that we're hearing more information about how Meek handled that loss, compared to how Drake is handling this loss where he's like, file the lawsuits, get Kendrick out of here, don't play it at the Super Bowl, all that. So, shout out to Meek for still putting out a project and trying to come back after such a loss. You got to give him credit versus what Drake is doing.